Good morning, everybody. I'm Ramdas Bill Sinclair, and today I wanted to talk to you about a lecture series I'm going to be giving throughout the fall. Since 2020, I have been spending a lot of time reading the Vedic narratives, really fascinating stories about which contain layers and layers of information. So in my Jyotish studies, I was very comfortable with what to do, when to do things, how to do things to read charts. But what I realized I was missing was why I'm doing this. And in studying these stories, especially along with, in conjunction with the nakshatras, I really started to understand um, the framework that each of these techniques was seated in. And this helps me to apply it to modern day situations. This is what's difficult for all of us. It's great to know this ancient story, but how do we translate it to give effective, helpful information to our clients so that they can understand their way forward? A case in point is I had a group of students that asked me about adoption in the chart, which FYI is something I'm still working on. But in doing so, I was studying this chart of Steve Jobs, and he was adopted at birth. And so I was looking at all of his nakshatras, and I noticed that the sun is seated in Shatabhishak. Now, Shatabhishak's story is the story of Ratnakaraka. Ratnakaraka was born to a Brahmin family, and when he was a little child, he wandered off into the woods and was lost to his family. So he was taken in by everyday hunters, people, and so he grew up as a hunter and trying to make, ends meet for his family. It appears that he never really got any kind of spiritual education or all of that information. So eventually he became a robber. And so he was robbing people on the road to support his family. And one day he tried to rob Narada, who's a great rishi who is always wandering the world. And he's, closely related to Lord Vishnu. So when he tried to rob Narada, Narada asked him, "Why are you doing this?" And, Ratnakaraka explained, "I have to do all this stuff. I have to support my family." And Narada said, "Well, are they willing to accept the karma that you have?" So he went back and asked them, and the family all said, "No, we don't want the karma. We just want the food and the money." So this led Ranakaraka on a path to becoming a great rishi. He went into meditation and became enlightened, and Narada gave him the blessings. So there's a lot of ways you can work with that story. The thing that we can always know is that it can be a time of whatever planet seated there can progress greatly in life. There can be a huge time of growth and shedding of our old karma and everything. But what I found interesting is it's also the story of a little boy who lost his family and was raised by someone else. And I thought that's kind of, a little detail of it that suddenly steps forward in Steve Jobs' chart, because in fact, his parents were both college educated. And one of the terms of his adoption was that his mother only wanted to give him to people who were college educated. So that would be an analogous thing to Brahmins perhaps today. But what turned out is that there was a couple that wanted to adopt him, who had a college education, but they wanted to adopt a daughter, not a son. So then his adoptive parents came along, and they were working class people. And the mother was hesitant to sign the adoption papers until they promised to pay for his education. So you can see how, when you know these stories, suddenly little details in them can leap out and really clarify why something worked or why something happened in the chart. So this is kind of a sample of how I'm approaching this lecture series this fall. So we're going to start on September 15th, and the topic for that day is Of Gods, Humans, and Monsters. And I picked this as a way to start to get a overview of the cosmology of what we're dealing with here, because it's so complex. And what I want to do is break it down and make it relatable for everyone. The devas are very important, as we know, but I've really struggled with the asuras, which is always translated as demons here in most of the things. So I chose the word monsters because they're different from us, but they also share a lot of qualities with us. And so I thought it was just, that's one of the things I had when I was first studying, is I thought of them as satanic. And actually we'll find out as we go through this, some of the beings that incarnate in the Asuric realm can become very great and very powerful. So we'll lay that as a foundation, because one of the things I want to do is, as we go through the series, we'll delineate, like, what does it mean when you're a rishi? What does it mean if you're a yaksha? What does it mean? So that you have some kind of an idea, because there's meaning even at that level. So that's going to be our first week, and we'll do a chart. And in preparing the lecture, I was surprised because I finally understood why the Rashi is the most important chart, because you have the zodiac, it's divided so many different ways into the houses. So we know that will clarify, and also why the D9 is the second most powerful chart. So on September 29th, we're going to talk about the power of the pada. Pada means foot. And we'll be exploring a narrative related with the foot and what that word means, because it can be grounding, it can be, the step beyond is a very important concept there. And we're going to be doing a technique which can show you the motivation behind why the planet's working. So it gets, again, it's that extra layer of why does this planet in this chart act in these particular ways. On October 13th, we're going to do the sun in the signs. This is fascinating. I started reading about this years ago, that the sun actually travels through each of the 12 signs. He has a different name, and he has a different list of attendants that go with him. So I think this is the narrative which supports the 12 Rashis. You can go in and understanding who they are and how they relate to each other. Interestingly, the cycle starts at Pisces. So you go Pisces, Aries, and you'll see that there's a link there. But we also have, the sun has a different character in each sign and different Vedic narratives associated with him. So again, we're adding this depth of what each of the Rashis is really bringing to us. Then on October 4th, we're going to be doing the real planetary regions of the solar system. This is the planetary family tree. So we all know there's planets are friends to each other, they're enemies with each other. And there's a lot of stories that will back up and tell you why these friendships or enmities exist. And this helps to anchor what is the dynamic between them. The other concept I really introduce here, and maybe this is, too granular or whatever, but, we have these physical bodies sitting in space that are planets. And we know all physical bodies exert force on other physical bodies. But what's interesting is the term planetary regions, because this is the looking at the impact, the results that come out of the planet. It's not that, the planet itself is doing, it's the region, which is the energy and character that is, occupying the planet. So like we have Venus as a planet, but Shukra is the regent. And so we can study, we have all these Vedic narratives about Shukra and what that means, and who is his father and who are his friends and all that stuff. So we're going to spend the time going through that. And I was trying to do a play on like the Real Housewives of whatever. So these are the real planetary regions. I want to have some fun with this. And it really helps to anchor those fundamental concepts. And then finally, on November 10th, we're going to be doing a talk sharing the stories of Rama, Rama, Rama. So this is the story of Rama, Parashurama, and Balarama. And I kind of started looking at this years ago. I'm fascinated, like, why are there three Ramas? And why are these the avatar of the Sun, Mercury, and Venus? So we're going to be exploring what does that mean, and how does this really shape our understanding of the interior planets to us. So I hope that you will join me for this lecture series. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing charts and everything. The whole idea is to bring these Vedic stories, to hear the Vedic stories, but then bring them into why they impact our astrological practice. Please visit my website, billsinclair.com. There's a link on there that you can get more information about each of the things, and you can register and save your place today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you soon. Namaste.